Welcome back here to the Real News Network. I'm Mark Steiner. We're about to continue our conversation with Mustafa Barghouti of the National Initiative. And Mustafa, a couple of things here I really want to cover with you. You recently met with Mikhail Bogdanov, a deputy foreign minister from Russia. Could you talk a bit about why you met with him, what this meeting's about, and how that fits into all the international potential in terms of negotiations between Israelis and Palestinians, if it does at all?
Well, yes, of course. The Russians have very simple approach. They think that they should play a role in mediating and in establishing peace in the region. They do understand that getting Palestinians and Israelis to agree about future peace requires that Palestinians are all unified, and that they have to remove the Israeli claim that there is no progress because there is no single Palestinian who can represent all Palestinians, because of the internal division. So we were in Moscow, about 12 Palestinian groups. We were invited by Russia, which facilitated meetings to discuss national unity between Palestinians and ending the internal division. And practically it was a Palestinian meeting, but along the line, we had meetings with Mr. Bogdanov. We had meeting with Mr. Lavrov, the foreign minister, and I had an individual meeting with Mr. Bogdanov, who is the counselor to Mr. Putin and deputy foreign minister. We discussed the issue of Palestinian national unity and how we can facilitate that and how Russia can play a positive role. Of course, one issue that came up in the discussion was the Warsaw meeting, which the Russians are against and we as Palestinians are against, because we see it as an effort to marginalize the Palestinian issue and normalize relations between Israel and the Arab countries without solving the Palestinian issue, as was indicated in the Arab Initiative. So the talks were good and useful. It was the first time that Hamas and Fatah meet together face-to-face since 1 year. And we will proceed with these talks about unity in future meetings in Egypt, hopefully.
So I'm curious how. Let me just kind of bear down a bit on this question of unity. I mean, there are very, very different political groups going in the Palestinian world. I mean, you've got Hamas, which people in the West look at as a very fundamentalist religious organization, and you can see from how it runs Gaza that some of that is real. You have the Abbas and the PLO, which also has its divisions internally. You've got your movement, the National Initiative. I mean, how do you create national unity out of that when these groups have been in such loggerheads? And what do you think the real possibilities are?
The only way to get to unity, as I believe, and I have been a mediator between Hamas and Fatah, as you know, for many, many times,
right?
Being completely independent from both sides. And that is a very unique position in which our party is, the National Initiative. Absolutely independent from Hamas and Fatah, but interacting with them. For instance, our interaction with Hamas helped them a lot understand the concept of nonviolent resistance. And I do believe we had an impact on them. And regarding unity, how can we achieve unity? With two particular conditions. These are preconditions for unity. First, since no single party can run Palestinian issues, the principle of sharing power has to be accepted. Fatah has to understand that it cannot anymore be the single one-party rule. Hamas also has to understand it cannot run Gaza as a one-party rule. So they have to accept the principle of sharing between themselves and with all of us. Second, they should accept the principle of democratic participation, which means the level of representation in any power structure has to be decided by the Palestinian people through free elections, like is happening in any democracy. We need that. Without that, the people will keep being alienated from all political groups, and the Palestinian side will be very weak. So sharing power and democracy are the formula that can bring us to unity.
Because it seems to me that without what you're describing, there is no way, given the massive power of the Israeli government and the massive power of the United States that backs the Israeli government, that without the unity, how can Palestinians even begin to resist and have their own state and develop a new future? And renegotiate the accords and all the rest cannot happen without that. So, I mean, that's why I'm very curious, how realistic do you think it is, given that people would love to see this divide even get deeper between the Palestinian factions?
It's not impossible, and it's a precondition for our survival, as you understand. And that's why we will continue to put all efforts in that direction. We cannot survive occupation. We cannot end occupation without being unified. But let me tell you that all the dilemma that we live in today, and this Israeli shift towards severe racism and extremism, which is harmful for Israeli people as well, all of that is related to the imbalance in power between us and the Israeli government. And we have to change the balance of power. And that can be achieved only, in my opinion, through popular nonviolent resistance, but also with unity and through unity. And that's what we work on. At the end of the day, many countries, many people who struggled for their freedom and liberty were weaker in the beginning. South Africa is a good example. Algeria is another. United States itself is another example. If we believe in what we want, and if we unify our people, I think we'll get to freedom. It's a must.
Well said. Mustafa Barghouti, thank you so much for taking your time with The Real News today, and stay safe. Thank you so much for your work and for being with us today.
Thank you.
And I'm Mark Simon here of The Real News Network. Take care.